yeah. I said I'm in love with my hood, just know my love ain't lust. Hater said he had my chick, just know my broads ain't touch. Don't be snitching on my clique and get my dog caged up. Look for smoke and get you all blazed up like a chimney. Aggressive with the ace when I hit your face with the mini-me. Have to switch the place when I use the K on the...
What's good? It's your boy, Kenny, here with Adrian, Checo.
What's up, yeah?
Formal, keeping it. 24. How are you guys doing? We're 3 away from 100. Let's keep it pushing, and let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
It's the K&A podcast. Obviously, you knew because you clicked on it. All right, Adrian, let's introduce who we got today. It's a very special episode, as per usual, every week.
Yes, sir. I got my boy Tristan, bro. How you doing, man?
Good, my brother. How are you? How y'all boys doing?
Doing good, bro. Doing good.
Good. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. My first time ever doing this, so you guys are really popping my cherry right now. I'm going there well.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, bro.
Okay. Sure.
You want to give the people a little bit of background on yourself, bro?
All right. So a little bit about me. Born and raised in New York. Grew up in Queens. 28 years old. Gonna be 29 on Tuesday. And yeah, just so you know, Queens kid, getting after it. You know, just trying to put the pieces together. You know, went to the military in 2018. Trying to escape some things back home. Came back, different dude, you know, not really different dude, but a better dude, you know what I mean? And yeah, just came back in 22, went back to school, full-time student, and now I'm just trying to find my place back in the jungle, you know, whether that be through law enforcement, firefighting, you know, something like that, or even a school counselor. So I'm just trying to like get the credentials to serve the community in a different way. Mm-hmm. What I love, yeah. And make it better.
When I was reading your essay for class, you was talking about, you know, growing up in a low-income household.
That's
you was
right.
Family of 4, right? Could you elaborate a little bit on how you were growing up?
Oh yeah, for sure. So long story short, or long story long. Yeah, mom and dad met. Dad was a Puerto Rican from the Bronx, 25 years old. He met my mom, you know, Filipina chick, you know, 20 years old from Queens. They met in culinary school, and yeah, then they had me, 1995. So then they had my brother, 1996. And unfortunately, you know, times were different back then. We went through a lot of hardship and whatnot because, you know, they didn't have the education and the resources that, you know, that I have now, thankfully, and that a lot of us have now, the next generation. So, you know, with that being said, we grew up in a studio apartment in Astoria. You know, they were just, my dad was just a chef. You know, he was Americanized and whatnot, but, you know, not a high-paying salary. You know, unfortunately, the culinary arts doesn't get the love that, you know, financially. They get the love from people eating and all that, but they don't really get compensated for what they put out there. So, and then, what else? Yeah, eventually, unfortunately, they split up at some point. So my mom, I was raised by a single mother for most of my life. And then, yeah, I guess there's more motivation to, you know, break the generation, like get out of generational poverty and just give back and whatnot. It's a super long story, you know. By the time I'm done telling it, the sun will come up. So I'm just trying to condense it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a lot to it. But yeah, not to get in too deep, but my dad was kind of like, you know, he was an alcoholic and whatnot. So, you know, that was that created more friction. You know, growing up, imagine a family of 4 in a studio apartment with an alcoholic. So that's a recipe for disaster. That's a volatile environment. And then my mother and father, you know, they were both hot-headed, both reactive, and, you know, so I had to grow up through that. But at the end of the day, you know, I can't regret anything because it made me the man that I am today. So I'm grateful for even that experience, you know, despite how traumatic, you know, it was. It still made me who I am today. So I'm thankful because it showed me what's right and what's wrong. And it showed me what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not. So I'm grateful for it regardless.
Do you drink yourself or do you
Occasionally, yeah, barely. Not really, not much.
Okay. Interesting. I always ask people that when they say like someone that they know was like an alcoholic, sometimes they end up tending to stay away from it, or while they're drinking, they always think of that.
That's right. That's true. Well, I had my my little delinquent arc, you know, growing up, you know, getting it, you know, the 4 local era, you know, 14, 15, 16, bugging out. So I learned a lot of hard lessons, and, you know, from drinking, and thankfully, you know, none of them cost me my life or someone else's life, which could have easily happened. But I'm not gonna say I've never gotten shit faced, because I've definitely gotten shit faced. You know, it's character development. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta get shit faced and black out and have that finding God moment to realize whether it's for you or not. And thankfully, I was able to determine that it's not for me because I seen how destructive it was. Not just in my immediate family, but with my friend group. I seen it like, you know, really derail a lot of people's lives with a lot of potential, and it is heartbreaking. And personally, I don't like who I am when I'm drunk. I feel like, you know, I don't have the same discipline and respect for myself I do when I'm sober, and it brings out things. I feel like it brings things out of me that are not supposed to be out there, you know. So I try to stay away, keep it out of limit. But I can still have a good time. That's why I appreciate your mini bar over there. So,
I appreciate it.
What time and a place.
So is it that your atmosphere around you pushed you into going into the military? Is that what?
Yeah, that was the major thing. So yeah, you know, early 20s, late teens, I was very lost, you know, smoking and joking. I was always cutting school, you know, like a lot of dudes growing up in New York City, you know, and not to victimize myself or excuse myself, but I became a product of my environment, you know. I didn't have the guidance and the direction I needed to, you know, stay the course, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I spent a lot of times, you know, at the park and, you know, bullshitting at the bodegas, like I said, smoking and joking. It took me 2 years extra to graduate high school, so, but then, yeah, so there were times when, like, yeah, like everyone, and like, as I was in that state of limbo, like a lot of my friends, not really my friends, but like my ex-girlfriend at the time, she was doing all the right things. She was in John Jay's. She was like, you know, I want to be a police officer, X, Y, and Z. And meanwhile, I'm here in limbo, you know, going nowhere fast. So then I started getting into like a depression because I'm like, I was trying to find my purpose and this and that, and like, where am I going? And I feel like that's kind of like what set the motion for me being like, yeah, I need to get away from my environment. I need to escape. I need to like have an adventure, you know, put myself to the test and find out who I really am. Because it's definitely, I don't think I could find it here at the moment. And that was like one of the best decisions I ever made.
Is there anybody in your family that's served time or no?
Oh, my grandfather in Puerto Rico and the National Guard, but he never really talked about it. So, yeah, unfortunately, I never got to hear his story. So my immediate family is just me, honestly. Yeah.
So what was the real push to have you enlisting?
What was that? The real push?
Yeah.
So yeah, the real push was I just felt like I needed to like escape, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know what I was really running from, but I feel like I needed to like, I just needed to go away, you know? Like I wasn't happy with the way things go. Oh, and also to give a little bit more context, growing up, yeah, I got like arrested 3 times for like little minor misdemeanors, like marijuana possession and little ridiculous shit like that, pocket knife, you know, a little bullshit like that. And like summonses and little tickets, trespassing in the park, open container, little things like that. And those things were compounding like cards against me. And it was impacting my newfound aspiration at the time to get into law enforcement. And I was thinking to myself, you know, how am I going to get into law enforcement too with this type of background? Because, you know, I'm looking like a delinquent. And I also feel like this was one of the only ways to like make amends for like all the wrongs that I did and kind of like prove myself like through that retribution. Like, you know, I can become something more, something greater, and I'm not a product of my history, you know? So.
But it was something like you thought of, like, were you like, this is my only option. This is the only thing I could do to make it out right now.
Yeah. Nah, I didn't think it was my only option, but it was like definitely like.
Had the most pros to it.
Yeah. I feel like it resonated with me the most because it aligned with a lot of my values, you know?
What do you remember about the day that you enlisted?
What I remember about that day? Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I'll start. So when I first went into the office, I was trying to go into the Air Force because at the time I was still a kid. I was 20. What was I? I was 21. And I was like, I heard it was the most comfortable, blah, blah, blah. You know, they call it the Chair Force, whatever. Because they have a completely different lifestyle culture compared to the Marine Corps. So yeah, I went to right by Queen Center Mall, RSS Ridgewood. I spoke with a recruiter. I was super eager to just sign already, like to just kind of sign my life away already. Like I kind of already knew what I wanted to do, something related to police work. And yeah, so he gave me a chance. He put me through the process, you know, ran the background check. I informed him about, you know, my past discrepancies. And I was like this close to getting in. And then my statement conflicted with the statement of a police officer at the time during my first arrest. And so now, because I wrote on my statement, it was a random stop and frisk, but according to the police officer's statement, it wasn't random. I was holding a open container at the time, which gave him probable cause to stop and frisk me. But, you know, that kind of gets a little complicated because, you know, there's always loopholes around that one. So it looked like I was a liar. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to pursue the Air Force. So then I was like, all right, that wasn't meant to be. I was like hurt at the time, but then I was like, I'm not going to give up. You know, if I have to go through every branch, I'm going to go through every branch. So then I was like, you know, let me go through the hardest one, which is the Marine Corps, because I feel like that one resonates with me the most in terms of like their values and whatnot. So then I spoke with a recruiter there. We started the paperwork. It took me literally a year to hear back from them. So during that whole entire year, I was thinking to myself, like, wow, like, is it not going to happen? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm still in the state of limbo. Like, I'm still like kind of depressed. I'm like, damn, like, I can't escape this paper trail that's haunting me from my prior arrests and whatnot. And then it's so crazy how it happened, you know. And I don't know what your guys' spiritual beliefs are. I respect everyone's spiritual beliefs. But at the time, I remember talking to one of my close friends at the time, and we were talking about it. And I kind of believe in like the law of attraction. Like, you know, when you speak about things and you think about things profoundly, you like start to manifest them through like energy and whatnot. And it's one of those unexplainable things that like you just feel that like can't be explained, that like can't be measured. And like that ties into your faith. And like we were talking about my situation, and lo and behold, you know, God is my witness. I just did a little cross because I came from a Christian family, but I'm not really Christian, you know, nothing, you know, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Shame on me, lightning. Yeah, but I got a text from the recruiter at that moment. He was like, oh, Tristan Darcy, you still interested in, you know, joining the Marines and whatnot? And I was like, yo, my jaw dropped. I was like, yo, you're not going to believe it, bro. And I was bugging out. And then, yeah, the rest is history. Then we were able to proceed, you know, through the process.
And what was that process like?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of paperwork, you know, with the whole paper trail behind me. I had to, like, you know, write a statement for each piece and basically, you know, write a statement trying to, like, make a case for myself and, like, why I'm still worthy of this opportunity, you know?
And then is it, like, a test you got to prepare for, anything like that? Like...
What, to join the military?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to take an ASVAB, which is basically, I think they call it like a general aptitude test. And it's pretty hard, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty difficult because it's like on a range of subjects that not all of us are familiar with. Like there's like information regarding like shop-related questions, which is not really typically taught in the New York City's education system. Like, you know, measurements and things like that, how to use tools and whatnot.
Like the metric system and stuff like that?
Like the metric system in relation to like tools. Like, and there's like questions about engines and like kind of random things like that, like things you wouldn't know unless you were like you saw it or you were specifically taught it. You know what I'm saying? And I try to prepare for it, but I scored like an average score, like 50, which was decent. And depending on how well you score on that test is going to determine what jobs you qualify for. You know what I'm saying? So if you score very low, you're not going to qualify for a job like aviation, like mechanic. You know what I'm saying? Like if you score low in the mechanical portion of the test, they're not going to trust you to be an engineer, obviously. Yeah. So you have to really take that test seriously because that test is going to determine what opportunities are presented to you. Because you can't just go in there saying, oh yeah, I want to work on nuclear missiles or some shit like that. Oh, I want to be this, that, and the third. Like, you know, that will be determined based on your score.
So how many times did you take the test?
I took it once.
Took it once, or you passed?
Yeah, and I passed. Yeah.
Can you retake it though, like to get a better score, even though you already passed?
Yeah, you could retake it, but there's only certain times where you could. You know, like it'll be like every few months or so, every so often.
Let's say, so you got a 50, for example. Let's say you wanted to get a better score because you wanted a specific job. Is that like something you could do?
Yeah. But you would have to like wait probably. And I was just so eager to finalize the process.
Like you was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, but I already had an idea of exactly what I wanted to do when I got in. And what I wanted to do didn't really require a high score, which is being in the infantry. Because I knew I didn't want to be in an office or anything like that. And I wasn't too good with my hands, like in terms of like mechanical things. So I was like, I definitely want the full experience. I definitely want to be in the infantry. So I already know, you know, hit it on the head. Like, this is what I want.
Nice. So let's say somebody came up to you and was like, oh, how did you prepare? Or what are some things that you could tell me about how to take the ASVAB test and pass it? What advice would you give them? Yeah,
okay, so definitely I would say, you know, utilize all your resources. I would definitely invest in a book. There's a bunch of books on Amazon that will help prepare you for the ASVAB test. I will utilize whatever's on the app marketplace. I utilize your smartphone. If you feel like you're better on the smartphone, there's ASVAB Mastery and a tons of like educational resources that would do the marketplace that will help you prepare for it. And ultimately it depends on what type of learner you are. You have to know, are you a visual learner? Are you someone that needs to sit down with someone else and get talked on target with? Or you need someone that needs one-on-one tutoring? Do you need group sessions? It ultimately depends on you. Try it. So I would say zero in on what works best for you in terms of retaining knowledge, whether it be flashcards, whether it be, the smartphone, whether it be audiobooks, whether it be podcasts, so on and so forth.
So what was your job title in the Marines?
It was 0311, rifleman.
Nice.
Yeah, infantry.
So how did your family react to the decision when you said, I'm actually going to leave to the Marine Corps? Like, did you tell them right away that you were taking the test, or did you tell them last minute? Because I know there's people that have been told their family last minute.
No, it wasn't really last minute. Like, they knew what I was going for. I've never been one of these people that's like kind of like scared of what my family thinks, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I owe it to them to keep it real, and I owe it to myself first and foremost. I'm not gonna. I'd rather hurt you with the truth than come for you with a lie. Any day.
How old were you, and how many years did you serve?
Yeah, so at the time I was 22, and that was 2018, and it was just 4 years. Yeah. The best 4 years of my life.
Nice.
Yeah. And in the moment, it feels like forever, but looking back, it's like you just blink, and that's over.
So what was boot camp like?
Oh, boot camp. Looking back, it's like you laugh at it because it feels silly, but in the moment, it feels like the hardest thing you've ever experienced in your life, and for most people, it is. At that time, it was. But
How did you prepare yourself physically for it?
Yeah, so physically, I've always been into bodybuilding, my whole entire life, thank God. But I never started taking my fitness as serious until like I knew I was embarking on that path, because I knew like it was going to be physically rigorous, mentally and physically. So what would I do to prepare? Well, at the time, I didn't really have that much bodybuilding knowledge like I do now, but I would do like full body exercises and whatnot. I'll be definitely spend an hour and a half, 2 in the gym, making sure I would prioritize running, because they're big on cardio over there. And just to get in, you have to have there's a physical requirement. They call it the IST, which is the initial strength test. So you have to do a certain amount of pull-ups, sit-ups, and a timed run, which I believe is 1.5 miles, to work your way up to the standard PFT, which is the Marine Corps' physical fitness test annually, which is pull-ups, sit-ups, and a run. And it's like at a higher requirement once you become a Marine. Like by the time you get into boot camp, you expect it to get a certain result out of it,
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't just be barely making it. You should be doing it comfortably.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it like though? Like I feel like the only thing I could imagine boot camp is like the movies, like where people are getting yelled at, thrown on the fucking dirt and stuff like that. What is boot camp like?
Damn, it's hard to.
How close is it to like the movies and the TV shows that depict it?
Yeah. So I would say the closest representation of it would be like Full Metal Jacket. But not even though, because Full Metal Jacket, like during that time, that was like during the Vietnam era, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a different type of boot camp in terms of, I feel like now it's kind of watered down in comparison to like the olden days, because, they were able to get away with a lot more, like they were able to get more hands-on and whatnot. And unfortunately, I can't really go into like the details of boot camp, because like you kind of make a promise after you graduate, like you can't really go into like the specifics. But what I can say is that, very similar to Full Metal Jacket, that opening scene with, drill instructor Gunny Ernie and him like, berating the recruits and like yelling at them, making them feel like shit. But overall, it's a good time. I will say that, and I don't want to ruin the surprise for anybody.
Was there any funny moments that happened at boot camp that like you can talk about?
Yo, one of the hardest parts, I'm not gonna lie, boot camp is not laughing, like not getting caught laughing. That's probably one of the most challenging aspects of boot camp, because you're gonna see some of the most ridiculous, fucking hilarious, pure comedy in there, and God forbid you get caught laughing, because that's not the place you want to laugh at. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, because I mean, you're gonna be paired. You gotta think about it. It's like a social experiment in a way. You're getting paired with like young men from all over the country, from all different types of walks of life, and you're putting them in this confined space, in a high stress environment. So you can only imagine the type of Looney Tune shenanigans that be taking place when you have a bunch of characters in one little room and all this stress is going on. You know, it's too funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Was there ever a time where like anybody was fooling around and you guys all suffered because of it?
But there was a Dominican dude there, and this dude like to use the bathroom and whatnot, you have to go through a whole procedure, right? It's a pain in the ass to use the bathroom. So whatever the case might be, and there's sometimes where you really have to hold it. There's no other way. You have to just ride it out, no matter how bad you need to go. So he took it upon himself to like piss in a bottle. And this dude, like, that's a no-no, first of all. But I understand you can't piss on the floor, so he was in a messed up spot. But he put the bottle of piss in what you call like a toiletry bag. Like the bag you put all your things to brush your teeth and so on and so forth. So he put the bottle of piss in there. So trying to suck that foul there, and he was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yo, you out of your mind? He was wilding out. It was too funny. And then, yeah, we all had to pay for that shit.
Wait, but why did all you have to suffer for that?
Because, the mass punishment thing kind of like is enforced to reinstill the whole idea of, if one person's hurting, like everyone's hurting. You know what I'm saying? Like that camaraderie aspect, to reinforce the whole ideology of like, being one unit,
Okay.
It kind of helps a little bit with chemistry too, if you think about it.
Yeah. Chemistry, camaraderie. Yeah.
That's what's up.
And it's been proven, like people that suffer together, end up getting closer together, through that shared suffering in some weird, sick way.
Right. What was the transition like when you graduated and you went from a trainee to a Marine?
Okay, yeah. So, very surreal experience, and it's super funny because, like when you first become a Marine, you become what they call a boot, which is like, a derogatory term for, like you're a beginner, like nobody, like, you refer to someone that just came out of boot camp that's never experienced the real military experience of boot, because like, yeah, he's like a boot, So when you graduate, you feel like, wow, like I'm on top of the world, like, yeah, I made it, I'm a Marine now, this and that, like the title, I just went through all this, blah blah blah. So boom, then you get to play hero for a week at home, visiting your family, whatever. They give you that little grace period. And then when you come back to the School of Infantry, which is everyone has to go through the SOI, and then depending on your MOS, which is your job, like if you have an administrative job, you're gonna experience MCT, which is a very watered down version of the School of Infantry, because they know you're not in a combat role, so it's not gonna be as intense. So they separate people based on that. And if you're going to go in the infantry, you're going to get the full experience of SOI, because that's going to be your job for the next 4 years. So it's going to be balls to the wall. So once you get there, you're still in that loopy state of mind where like, oh yeah, I'm still Marine, I know this and that. So because you're still on student status, and once you complete the school, then you get set off all over the country to your specific unit. So some guys are going to the West Coast, some guys are going to the East Coast, some guys are going to the desert, some guys are going San Diego, 29 Palms, Camp Lejeune, whatnot, so on and so forth. So once you finally hit your specific unit, that's when you get slapped in the face and get humbled, and realize, yeah, you just like. You thought you just started like level 1, baby. Like this is day 1, and now you're gonna have to work and deal with people that been in for a minute, and now it's a culture shock again. Like it's constantly a culture shock, because as you progress through this journey, once you think you made it, in a way, you get dick slapped and like realize like, yo, like nah, you didn't make it. Like you never made it really. They hit the reset button on you. So then you meet what they call your seniors, which is like the guys that like, oh, they just came back from a deployment, or they've been in what they call the fleet, which is the operating force for like a year or so. And then there's a whole thing with this culture that like you kind of have to like suffer and like go through a lot of bullshit in the beginning to earn that respect and earn that seniority, to get out of that boot phase. You know what I'm saying? It gets kind of deep. Yeah.
What was that humbling moment for you? Like, what was it like? Damn, like this is just the beginning.
Oh yeah, it was definitely like getting into the fleet, and like and it was a little bit tougher for me because I went in a little bit older. Typically when guys enlist, they're 18 years old. I went in at 22, which is not much of a difference, but it is a difference at the same time. 4 years is still 4 years apart. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I went in with a different level of maturity, which honestly, at the end of the day, worked in my favor because I wasn't willing to tolerate some of the games that were being played, you know, with like the younger dudes, you know?
Right.
Because I was, you know, who you are at 22 and who you are 18 is like completely different, you know, if you're doing it right, you know, for the better, you know what I'm saying? So what was that humbling moment for me? It was like, you know, just like really, oh yeah, so like when you get to the fleet, you're expected to have all this knowledge, but like they know you're not gonna have it because it's not being taught. You know what I'm saying? So like you're basically getting punished for not knowing shit that was never taught to you. And then like there were just a lot of times where like I had to bite my tongue, you know, I was getting like disrespected a little bit. Like things that wouldn't fly on the street in New York, you know, would have to fly here because you have to like kind of know your place and like you have to understand that who you are before this really doesn't matter. And you have to respect and trust the process. So like there's a guy 19 years old telling me what to do. I'm 22 years old, but he has more experience than me. I'm gonna respectfully have to take it to the chin and be like, yeah, you know, he's leading the show right now, you know? And just play the game a little bit. Obviously within its limits.
Right. What was it like adapting to the military life? How was it the first couple of months when you went from Queens, New York to boot camp to then being like a Marine?
Yeah, so it was a super culture shock, especially being in the infantry, because like, you know, like we spent a lot of time in what you call the field, which is like in the woods, you know, like in the wilderness. And being a city boy, an inner city boy, it's like a culture shock because it's like, yo, what the fuck am I doing in Central Park right now? Like that's the closest I got to the woods in a lot of ways. And like, you know, we're out there camping and like living in the shit, like spending a week out there, you know, regardless of the rain, doesn't matter. It could be 30 degrees outside. We're spending the night out there, you know?
Right.
And all types of shit. And there were plenty of times during those dark moments where I questioned myself. I'm like, damn, did I really just pick this right now? Like, I'm barely getting below. Like, I'm getting like less than someone at McDonald's right now going through it, you know, like really suffering. Like, there's someone at McDonald's right now making more than me. He gets to go home with his girl, gets to be warm, laid up, watching Netflix, this and that.
Right.
And I'm over here in the fighting hole, contemplating my whole entire life. And there were so many times where I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, how did I get here? This and that. But thank God, in those dark moments, I was able to remind myself, like, you know, the beauty in this is that I picked this. And, like, it's going to pay off in the long run. And I just got to ride it out. And, you know, it's just making me stronger.
What did you learn about yourself during those moments?
Oh, I learned about my resilience, like my mental, physical resilience. I mean, and if I could sum it down to one thing, my biggest takeaway from the Marine Corps specifically was like my resilience, like mentally and physically, because like you're constantly being pushed beyond your limits or your perceived limits. So you keep like reaching this threshold, and just when you think I don't got any more left in the tank, I can't do it, my back is about to break, my mind is about to break, my knees are about to pop, my ankles about this, that, and the third. You just, like David Goggins said, like, you know, you just reached like 40%. Like there's still like 60% left in the tank.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a beautiful thing to you know, surpass those limits and discover that how much more capable your mind and body is once you like just keep going, you know, till failure, you know.
Yeah. But David Goggins is on a different
He's
plane.
on another level. He's on another level.
I don't even think he's human.
He's on another level.
I don't even think he's human.
I don't even deserve to say his name on this thing because he's just a God level dude.
Sure.
High respect for him.
OD. The things he's done, like, is insane.
He makes me feel like I'm nothing, like I'm nobody, boy.
Just the stories of him in the military is insane.
Yeah, in and out.
In and out, for sure.
Yeah. Ultra marathons.
200 miles, 100 miles, 24 hours. I'm like, damn, bro. Like,
You guys read his book?
I read his book. Yeah.
Beautiful. Both of them?
I've read the first one. I didn't read the second
okay.
one. But I read the first one. That was
Hell
really
yeah, hell yeah. Yo, tell me it didn't light a fire in you.
OD.
You know?
There's one. Have you ever watched a podcast with him and Joe Rogan?
No, not that one. I seen the highlights.
Yo,
but I
it's
never
so
watched
good.
it throughout.
It's so good.
Yeah?
I replay it like every now and then, bro. It's so
Wow.
good. It's really
Good to
good.
know. To know.
So what are some aspects about military life that taught you skills you didn't expect to use like in real life now?
Oh yeah, like, well, unfortunately, the big joke in the infantry is that it doesn't really teach you much real world application besides learning how to be homeless. So that's the joke. Like all the guys are like, yo, we're gonna be really good at being homeless when we get out because we know how to like, you know, just weather the storm and like camp in the rain. And so that's the big joke in the military. They're like, yeah, you guys, you know, when you come out, you really don't have much skills versus like a guy that was working on airplanes or or a guy that was doing administrative work, or a guy that was doing, things that could easily translate into the civilian sector. But, they're mistaken, actually, which is funny. Like, yes, on the surface, we didn't learn any, like, that many hard skills that could translate. But, like, what we learned was more so, like, not to sound corny, but, like, how to, like, really, like, work under pressure, Like, when a lot of chaos is going around in the environment, like, we're able to, like, have that level head and communicate effectively and still perform effectively despite all this madness that's going around. That's why a lot of infantry guys transition into, like, law enforcement because or, like, firefighting and things like that, first responder work, because, like, it's very similar in that sense in which you have to be able to perform under a high-stress environment. Yeah.
Do you wish you would have chose a different job, or are you happy that you chose a rifleman?
Honestly, it was like, at first, I was like, yo, I fucked up. Like, I fucked up big time. I'm like, yo, I'm really going through it right now. Like, yo, I should have chose some bullshit, this and that. But, yo, looking back, the best decision I ever made in my life. I feel like I wouldn't do it over at all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, honestly. And we take so much pride in that job that, like, guys oftentimes, like, get tattoos. Like, I have a tattoo right here. You can't see it right now, but it's like 0311. And, like, in the Marine Corps community, like, when it's very common to see, like, the infantry guys have, like, those their specialty on their body somewhere, whether it be 0331, which is machine gunner, 0311 is rifleman, 0341 mortarman. So you'll oftentimes see those tats on their body, which reflects the amount of pride that everyone has in, like, their craft, because, like, we take a lot of pride in, like, suffering the most and, like, going through the hard shit.
Do you feel like you guys are the toughest branch?
I would say so. I'm biased, obviously. Right. I'm speaking mad biased. But let me just put it out there. I'm not acting like I'm a war hero or anything like that. I'm far from it. I didn't see combat or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and it, like, I don't feel like lesser of a man that I didn't. And I'm not gonna say, oh, I wish that I would have saw X, Y, and Z, because I'm a big believer in the fact that, and I've talked to people that have been through war. Some of those people are my mentors, or they were my leaders at some point, and they all told me that, like, yeah, I'm happy you didn't experience that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not something you romanticize. It's not something you glorify. Because I'm a true believer that in war, everybody loses. Do I wish I was able to prove my love for my left and my right through, combat? Yeah, in a way I do. Wish that I was able to show them how much I love them through, like, putting my life on the line and whatnot. But one big thing that I learned is, you don't just die for the people you love. You live for them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of veterans, don't understand that, and it's sad. And that's why the suicide rate is so high. And the suicide rate is even higher in veterans that never saw combat, believe it or not. I forgot what the statistic is. But it's higher in them because they feel like they didn't fulfill their purpose. They feel empty. They feel like, their service was a waste. Because it can be a very toxic community, because some guys shit on other guys for not, seeing combat or doing their job. But, I'm grateful that I'm at peace with myself, that for 4 years straight, I trained every day to see a moment that wasn't meant for me to see, because if it was meant for me to see, I would have saw it. And I can't control what I see and what I don't. I can only control how prepared I am for it. And I take great pleasure in knowing I did everything in my power to prepare for a day that never came. And I'm at peace with that. I'm not saying, oh man, like, I'm garbage and never came, this and that. So, nah, I'm not going to say that, because you don't get to pick where you go, and you don't get to pick what you see, but you get to pick what you do. And there's a lot of power in that.
Do you feel like this country takes care of their veterans?
I feel like, to a degree, it's funny. I just read an article that there were someone from the economists was writing that that veterans are getting too much benefits, and which is crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna go too deep on that, but I feel like they're definitely not getting taken care of to the amount they should be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, what was it like when you were first deployed? Like, how was that first day?
Damn, first day, it was super surreal, because, like, it was like one of the biggest moments of my life, because, we trained so hard for a whole year prior to finally, embark on, like, what a lot of people refer to as, like, it's like a rite of passage in a way, because once you go on your first deployment, you attain like that level of seniority that I was talking about prior. In a way, you're no longer a boot necessarily. And it's like this moment you're so eager for, because you're so eager to like transcend beyond this junior, status. You want to be respected, and you want to have this opportunity to finally get that respect and lead and be treated like an equal amongst your your little unit and whatnot.
And where did you go?
So I went up. My first appointment was a MU, which is a Marine Expeditionary Unit. So essentially, they put a bunch of Marines on like a fleet of ships with the Navy. So you're basically living with the Navy on a ship for about a few months. And basically you serve as like the 9/11 force of like whatever your area of operation is, whether it be the Red Sea or like the Black Sea or whatnot. And it gets kind of deep, and it's like the world is divided in like these sections.
What is the Red Sea and the Black Sea?
So the Black Sea, if I'm not mistaken, is in Europe, and the Red Sea is like by like the Middle East, like where it gets hot. I'm not too keen on my geography, but I know it's the Red Sea.
Did you ever think about joining Special Forces?
Yeah, I thought about it, but honestly, I never felt it in my heart like some guys do. Some guys, they feel it in their heart and they go all in. And for whatever reason, I never felt like that. I felt like that at all. But I feel like now, the older I get, the more I want to like push myself even harder. So I feel like if I were to get into law enforcement or firefighting, I would definitely aspire to be a part of like a specialized unit.
What does that entail though, like in the Marines?
Well, in the Marine Corps, they have like two different options. They have like they call them recon Marines, reconnaissance Marines. And that's like they go through a lot of like rigorous, like whatever you go through in boot camp is nothing compared to like what they go through, like, or SOI. Like they're like top tier kind of guys, and they do like reconnaissance missions and whatnot. And you can look them up on YouTube, and there's like a documentary about like that gives you kind of like a better idea of what their life is like. But like they go to California and they go to something called Basic Reconnaissance Course, and it's like a super high intense, crazy course where like guys are being evaluated a lot on swimming. Like they're very big on swimming there. Like if you're not a good swimmer, you're not gonna last long there. And it's just like super intense. And I would say it's similar to what I imagine Buds is, but Buds is on a whole nother level. Navy SEAL training is another whole nother level, but like they're like definitely like on their way to that kind of.
Right.
And then there's also Marine Raiders, which is MARSOC, which is a whole nother crazy pipeline, which I'm not that familiar with, but I know it's like one of the hardest things to get into.
Did you ever encounter people like in those special forces?
Yeah, and so yeah, I have. I never worked with them closely, but like there were recon guys that were a part of the ship that I was on. And like, when you're a recon Marine, you have like a little like two pins that's how you're able to identify them. Like one is for like the jump wings, which is like jumping out of plane a certain amount of times. The other one is like you get it from like a scuba diving course, if I'm not mistaken. And like they're like Hollywood kind of guys, like like but they earned it though,
Right.
Like at first when I first encountered them, I was like, yo, what's up with these dudes? Like they're acting mad Hollywood, this and that, like these dudes are assholes. But then the more I did research on like what they have to go through to get that title, I had a deeper respect for them. Because I'm like, damn, these dudes really go through it. They earned it. Not you. I mean, you never earn the right to be an asshole, but they earned their right to conduct themselves a certain way.
Right.
So.
Did you ever meet one that like spoke to you and gave you any like type of advice?
Unfortunately not. No.
Did you have any mentors in the Marine Corps?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. I had a bunch, and I'm super grateful for them. And one of them I'm still in contact with. And what was his name? Oh, of course, how could I forget his name? At the time, Staff Sergeant Plimpton. Now he's a gunnery sergeant, and yeah, he was like such a high respect for him. He was like he's a combat vet, and he's been around for a long time, like more than 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. And he was my platoon sergeant at the time. And I definitely looked up to him like a father figure in a lot of ways. And he, he was one of those people that told me that like, I never, being someone that experienced what I experienced, I never wished, you guys to experience it, because I know what kind of hell it is. So yeah, much respect to him.
Did he teach you anything that stuck with you to this day?
He's like not like directly, but like from the way he conducted himself, like he showed me, like how to be a good leader in a lot of ways, and the way you treat people, and the way like you conduct yourself, and how you earn that respect from your platoon or whoever's under you, you know? I'm trying to think of a specific moment in which he did that. Well, like, yeah, long story short, there were many times where, like, our platoon was getting in trouble for, like, delinquent things that, like, some of the guys were doing, like, you know, DUIs and getting in trouble, getting drunk, whatnot, stupid shit like that. And, like, as frustrated as he got, he always gave everyone, like, another chance to, like, redeem themselves and make a comeback, you know? And he would always look out. So I really appreciate that from him. Because there's some people that would be like, oh, I'm going to try to ruin your career now because you're being a thorn in my ass. Right. So now I'm going to try to burn you. But he wasn't like that.
The one thing that I notice is that in every branch, Army, Marine, they have this sense of brotherhood. How true is that statement that they live by?
Yeah, so I can't speak on the other branches. I can only speak on the Marine Corps. And without a doubt, I feel like we're like definitely the tightest of the bunches, you know, because we're the smallest branch. So with that being said, like I feel like our connection is more intimate in a way because like there's not that many of us. So yeah, and yeah, it's just like a beautiful brotherhood. It's definitely like a boys club, you know, like living in the barracks and like it's some of the best times of my life because it's like you like I never had the college experience of going in a dorm, but I feel like this was the closest thing to it. Because imagine you're living in a big building with all your boys, you know, suffering Monday through Friday, and then in the weekend you're partying with each other, getting drunk, getting stupid, getting belligerent, and you guys like you have a roommate and like you develop this bond through that shared suffering that I was talking about earlier, and like you know you really start to lean on each other, you know. On an emotional way too, because like you're away from your family, you're away from whatever life you left. A lot of times you're away from your wife, kids, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, and like you depend on each other for like that support, whether it be moral, emotional, everything.
Do you feel like that brotherhood is what really helped handle that mental toll you guys took in the Marine?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that?
The mental toll you guys took. Do you think that brotherhood really added on to it and helped it out?
Yeah, without a doubt, bro. It was definitely the glue that kept it all together, you know? It was definitely, and I feel like everyone that's ever served can relate to that, you know? Because when you really think about all the things against you and you're thinking about quitting, you're thinking about giving up, the only thing that brings it all back together is when you think about who's to my left and who's to my right, you know? And you can even read accounts and books from like people that experienced World War I, World War II. It all comes down to that same unifying theme of camaraderie and cadre. And people in World War II, I read this from a book, All Quiet on the Western Front, famous book, on World War I, not World War II. And the main character, he talks about how like he went back to, he came home from World War I and all he could think about was going back. You know, despite all the horrors he experienced, he wanted to come back to his people, you know, to his left and his right, his boys. That's all he could think of. You know, he felt so out of place with what he left when he came back. Just to you know, reinforce the idea of like how important camaraderie is.
I would imagine, because that's a lot of testosterone regardless in one building.
Man, without a doubt.
Has there ever been like times where you guys just didn't see eye to eye and y'all would kind of clash, but at the end of the day, you guys know that we're all brothers. So it's like,
oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, for sure. So you can already imagine all the testosterone. But, yo, because already the Marine Corps is already a toxic environment because everyone is trying to big dick each other. Everyone's macho, pumping their chest out. You know what I'm saying? And then you got dudes who are in the best shape. Most of the dudes are in the best shape of their life. So the testosterone is even going more stupid. And in the culture, we're all, like, conditioned to have, like, this vicious mindset. Like, you know, oh, yeah, like, you know, like of that violence, you know, like everything is constantly reinforcing this idea of violence that you want to embrace because, you know, we might go to war, God forbid. Yeah. So when you have all this built up aggression and it's not going to the right place, where is it going? You know, unfortunately sometimes, and then you put alcohol into the mix, it's coming out, you know, to your boys sometimes. So there was a funny situation, real quick, small story. Yeah, just to give you an example, like I was in my second deployment in Japan. I just finished volunteering, reading children's books to like some preschool. It was like a cool experience, whatever. It was cute to give back. I never volunteered before. I'm like, let me do this on a Friday night with the boys, whatever. So then we get back to the base and then we start having some drinks. Obviously, it's Friday. We're having a good time. And then we go to like this little bar on the base or whatever, and then and at this point I'm like I'm already intoxicated. Like my vision is not the best, and like my judgment is definitely impaired. So my buddy is talking to his boy from another company, and I'm over here at the distance, and for whatever the case might be, in my mind I was thinking, what is this dude looking at? Like, he keeps looking at me, like, grilling at me while he's talking to my man. So I'm like, what's up with this dude? So I'm already in my head. And then I'm going to come back to what I saw later on. So anyway, it's a kind of a blur, but I remember my boy tries to introduce me to his boy. And then I thought the whole time that he was being an asshole. I'm thinking like, yo, this dude is trying to big dick me and whatnot. And it turns out I was kind of being an asshole. So later on, we'll find out. But in the moment, so I don't know what happened. Like, we were exchanging words, and I was like, yo, what are you looking at, dog? Like, what the fuck you looking at? And then we started getting hot. And then my boy is trying to like diffuse it because I'm his roommate and that's his boy. And then we got it shaking for a little bit after that. And then I was pounding him out for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. No homo. And but then later on, the next morning, my boy gets a FaceTime call from his boy. He was like, yo, bro, I can barely remember anything last night. Like, what happened? I just remember I fought with your boy. And then he was like, yeah, your roommate. And he was like, yeah, he's right here. And then I was like, yo, bro, let me get the phone real quick, bro. I feel bad and this and that. So then we talked on FaceTime. We never saw each other sober. And then we both apologized. And it was all love. And we became cool eventually. So just, that was pretty cool, Like, most people are mature enough to squash it and have nothing but love,
Yeah.
So just boys being boys.
Did you find out what it was that he was talking to your boy about? Was it just he was just looking at you because he was like, I want to introduce you to him real quick?
Oh, no. So eventually, yeah. So what really went down, which I wasn't able to understand at the time, was he was like, yo, you were bugging out, bro. That dude introduced himself to you, and then you said, he was like, yo, he introduced himself to you, and then you said, I don't give a fuck who you are, this and that. So I was getting hot. So I was being a toxic asshole. I'm only human, I make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I really feel bad about that. I apologize, Sometimes we mess up.
Was there ever a time you had like the opposite experience where like you had an issue with somebody and it just led to more animosity later on?
Oh, wait, I'm trying to think. Yeah, there was one incident and then it never got settled, but nothing ever happened, thank God. But yeah, there was an incident. Yeah, we came back from our second deployment, and then we went to the store, and then like there was a long line because a lot of from my guys, because we all just came back from a deployment, so we all want to go to the store, right? And then there was this dude on the line from a different unit, some dude from Chicago, and he was complaining. He was like, yo, he was talking mad like shit. He was like, yo, these dudes, they just came back, they're acting like they're entitled to shit, blah. And then like I had to turn it up on him. I'm like, yo, what's up with you, dude? Like this and that. Like, yo, we just came back from deployment. You acting mad crazy, this and that. And then we started going back and forth. And then we was about to get it on. And the thing, but you can't fight on base because you could get in serious trouble. It's not allowed. And then anyway, and then he was a part of and nothing happened because the MPs came and we just dispersed. But then later on, like I think the next week I saw him. Because he lived in a different barracks building near my barracks building. And we would just kind of like have like this passive aggressive, this tension. But it never turned into anything, thank God. Because, I don't like drama, And it's not the street, and I'm not trying to, that shit leads nowhere, Yeah. So thank God it died out.
Are there any misconceptions you think people have of the Marines? Any stereotypes you feel like aren't even true?
Oh, yeah, I feel like there's a bunch. Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie, the one thing I thought was the aggression. And you already confirmed that for me.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like everybody that go to any type of military is just mad aggressive.
That's funny, bro. Yeah. I would feel like, there's that one, and there's definitely the one where, like, there's a joke that Marines are stupid, I don't know where that one came from, but I seen a lot of stupidity while I was there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've seen some of the dumbest but some of the brightest dudes I've ever met in my life, which is funny, ironically, right? So that's funny. Yeah, you see some of the toughest mother effers in your life. You also see some of the goofiest motherfuckers in your life. So it's like a paradox.
Yeah.
But what other stereotype? Well, I'm sure a woman could speak on it better than me because a lot of women be like, he's going to break my heart. He's an asshole. He's going to cheat on me, this or that. He's going to bang someone else while we're married. But there's a lot of stereotypes when it comes to Marines' wives as well. But, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I feel like all Marines be like paranoid that they're going to go back home and find somebody else in their bed.
Yeah, because it happens, bro. It's not just make-believe,
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of that type of stuff.
Very sad, very sad.
If someone is considered joining in the Marines, what advice would you give to them?
Joining the Marines? Okay, I would say I would say definitely listen to your heart. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everybody, and it's okay if it's not for you. But just the fact that you think it might be speaks volumes in itself. So I would say just you knowing that, you better give it 110%, because it's not gonna take anything less.
Right.
You know, mentally and physically, it's gonna require everything. So you give it everything. What you put in is what you're gonna get out. So don't hold back.
Is there anyone that you wouldn't want for them to go to the Marines? Anyone you would be like, maybe that's not the path you should take?
Yeah, I would feel like, I feel like somebody that wants to be comfortable. If you want to be comfortable, this is not the gig for you, because you know you're definitely gonna be uncomfortable majority of the time, and you know being comfortable there, you might put someone's life or your own life at risk. So I think it's better, you know, you stay comfortable wherever you at.
I feel like you answered this, but do you regret the time you spent, and would you ever go back?
Definitely don't regret it, without a doubt. I'll do it all over again, you know, 1,000 times if I could. And I'm super grateful for that experience and everything, the good and the bad, you know. And if I wouldn't know the good without the bad. I wouldn't know the bad without the good, you know. And yeah, I have a deeper appreciation for like being uncomfortable and like temporarily suffering, you know, for like, because I already know, as corny as it sounds, you know, diamonds really are made under pressure, you know, and it's only through that pressuring process where you get this beautiful thing that is a diamond. And like, you know, or even a sword, you know, I could go on with all these analogies, but like, you have to go through that forging time, and you only could go through it through the fire and through the pressure and the molding. And that's basically what it is to be, you know, in the Marine Corps, especially the infantry.
Would you ever go back or no?
Oh yeah, I would definitely go back, but I feel like, you know, in a lot of ways that chapter's kind of over. You know, I feel like if there was a real need for me to, I feel like if I really wanted to be there, I would be there right now. So I feel like for whatever the case might be, there's something that's holding me back. So I want to take everything I learned and apply it somewhere else.
Is there anything you would tell your past self before you enlisted?
Yeah, I would. One of the main things would be more hungry for responsibility. You know, don't duck responsibility. Because there were some times during the beginning of my military career where I was kind of ducking responsibility, because I guess when I really think about it, I guess it comes down to I was afraid of failure. You know, because, you know, obviously with taking on more responsibility comes that risk of failing. And it's a scary thing. But the older I get, the more I understand that the real failure is not taking on responsibility, is not trying, it's not pushing yourself to your limits and taking on more than you think you can handle. Because the things you learn from having more responsibility is invaluable, you know. And there's certain things you can only learn by taking on that weight and being responsible for certain things and being under control of certain things. So definitely I would seek more leadership opportunities. I would be more aggressive in being responsible for not just myself, but other people.
Is there anyone from your time in the Marines that you would like to honor or thank publicly?
Man, there's a bunch. You know, I want to thank, honestly, you know, I can't pick and choose. I would say everyone I came across, whether it be a good encounter or a bad encounter, I'm grateful for you. And that's how I live my life. You know, I don't want to sound, you know, too philosophical, but everyone that I met had a piece of the puzzle, because if they didn't, I wouldn't have met them. You know, so I feel like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, we crossed paths for a reason. You know, whether it was through fists, whether it was through love, whether it was through whatever, I'm grateful for, you know, each one of you, and very thankful for everyone that I came across.
Nice. So on this podcast, we have the final 5 questions that we ask to every guest.
Let's do it.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Let's see. So many, bro. There's so many. What's the best? Okay, one of the best. All right, there's too many to say, but the one that just hit me. The worst decision you can make is indecision. And I heard that one through one of my combat instructors. At the time, it was Staff Sergeant Fritz, and he was a war veteran, and he was a salt dog. He was a great dude, and he was everything he said I took very seriously, you know, because his credentials spoke for himself, you know, and the way he conducted himself, and he was right, you know. The worst decision you can make is no decision, you know, and it's in those split second decisions that could determine the rest of your life, you know. It could either cost you your life or cost someone else's, and the more you hesitate on making that decision, you know, because risking nothing, you risk everything. So you got to take a risk no matter what. Everything in life is a risk. So you know, like they say, a ship is always safe at shore. That's not what it was meant for. So, you know, you got to send it. You got to go in the ocean. You might not come back. You might become the Titanic, but you're a ship. That's what you were made for, to go on a voyage without knowing if you're going to come back or not.
What do you believe your current purpose is?
My current purpose, it's going to sound a little cheesy, but it's to leave, you know, not just the people I find, but this world better than I found it, you know? That's my purpose. And, you know, and I feel like it's through service. You know, and whether it be through exchanging knowledge or, you know, doing tasks for somebody, or the little things, reminding someone, you know, of like that there's something more in them that they can't see, you know, trying to make them see their best self. Yeah, I could go on and on, but I feel like, you know, that's my purpose for sure. And I feel like part of my purpose is learning what my gifts are and finding a way how to give them away.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your life that changed your perspective?
I think one of them was definitely it was losing one of my best friends. You know, God bless his soul. My brother Derek. When I moved back from the military, I visited him, and he was my boy since we were kids. He was Puerto Rican cat. He was official, like a definition of a brother. Like the only thing, like blood wouldn't even make us closer. Like that's how tight we were, you know. And yeah, one day he calls me. I'm mad hungover. You know, I was just partying the night before, and he's like, "Yo, bro, I know it's last minute, this and that. I just touched down from the airport. I just came back from PR, and I was hoping, you know, you could like pick me up from the airport." And I was this close to being like, "Yo, I'm too hungover, bro. Like it's a dub. Like like it's last minute, this, that, and the third." But something in my heart told me like, "Yo, you gotta go, bro. Like this is what brothers are for. Like, you know, for these times where you don't want to do something, where, you know, and then when they need you the most." So thank God I went to JFK. I picked him up. I drove him all the way to Long Island where he lived at. It was like an hour in. And we had a good time where we caught up and whatever. And then the last thing we said to each other was like, "Yo, I love you, bro. You know, thanks again." We hugged each other. The next week he died in a car crash. So pretty tough, you know. And yeah, it's all good. And it was super surreal when it happened. Like when I heard it happen, I felt like my heart like sunk in my chest when this girl told me over the phone. I was like, what? Like, this is wild. Like, and it didn't fully hit me till like later on in life, but it reminded me that, yo, when someone's gone, like they're gone. Like, you know, you're never gonna hear their voice again, you know? And I don't know what people's spiritual beliefs are. I feel like definitely they're always a part of you, but like in the physical realm, you won't hear from them again. You know what I'm saying? So it just reminded me how crucial it is to try your best to end on good terms with everybody, no matter what the situation might be, because you only got one shot at telling someone you love them. And more important than telling them, you only got one shot at showing them, because you don't know when you're going to see them again, you know? So I would say, you know, that's why I try to live with my heart on my sleeve, and I try my best. I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. But to try to end on good terms with everybody, you know, regardless of the situation, because I don't want our last moments before something crazy happens to be like, we weren't on good terms. Like, oh, the last thing I remember with this dude was an argument, and then now he's dead, and I can never tell him I love him, and this and that, you know? So that's super heartbreaking. So just knowing that, how fragile life is, that was one of the most pivotal moments of my life, being reminded how fragile it is and how we only have today. We don't know if we have tomorrow. We really don't, you know? So why wait? Oh, I'm gonna tell her I love her tomorrow. I'm gonna tell him I love him tomorrow. You know, you don't have time. That's one thing we don't have is time. We're never gonna get enough of it. So it would be foolish of us to waste another second on bullshit that doesn't matter. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
You know? So that was that.
If you could pass on one piece of information to the next generation, what would it be?
Yeah, like I said previously, like all we got is now. We don't know what else we got. You know, we don't even know if we're gonna wake up tomorrow. So I would say give today 110%, you know, 100 miles an hour, go balls to the wall. If you crash, you crash. You know, don't hold back, because you only got one shot. We don't know what's going to happen next. You know, we have millions of people that think they do, but no one really knows. You know, call someone that's in the next life right now, ask them what happens. Nobody can do it. You know? So all I know is, you know, I got today, I got right now. I got, what time is it? 7:05. That's it. So I got to make the most out of 7:05. I don't know if I can, you know? No, it's real. You know, as corny as it sounds, it's for real. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of our generation is scared to take risks, and I feel like like I said earlier, risking nothing, you risk everything. So you got to take a risk. You know, no matter what, you have to find something worth dying for and align everything, your values, your aspirations, your goals, so on and so forth, with whatever it is worth dying for. For some people, it's a person. For some people, it's a pleasure. For some people, it's experience, this, that, and the third. You have to determine what that is, because that's the only thing that makes this life worth living for, is finding out what it is worth dying for.
What advice would you give to someone who feels like they haven't found their purpose?
Yeah. Find out. Yeah, I would say you have to spend a lot of time. I think I heard this from David Goggins, if I'm not mistaken, or Jordan Peterson. I listened to a lot of their motivational compilations, but you know, in summary, one of them said like, yeah, you have to. The only way to know is like to be alone with yourself, you know, and to try certain things. You know, in order to find out what you like, you have to find out what you hate. You know, and then from there you find out whatever it is you're destined to create. For real. That sounds like a bar. It's crazy, but it's real. You know, you have to try things. You're not gonna find out your purpose sitting in a room playing Xbox or whatever, you know, jerking off all day. You're only gonna find it outside.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are scared to go outside, and they're scared to be alone, because when you're alone, you're in here, and being stuck in here is the scariest place to be, because anything can happen in here, and you know, being stuck in here can make everything seem worse than what it is, you know? And it ties into mental health, anxiety, fear, this and that. And there's like an old German proverb, and it goes something like, oh, the wolf, what is that? I don't know, excuse me, I don't know if it's German or not. You will know you're German.
It probably is. Let me hear
Pardon me. But it was something on the line, I don't think it was German, but it was definitely a quote somewhere, and it goes, you approached it like it was heavy, so it was. You know what I'm saying? In your mind, you approached it like it was going to be this heavy thing. So your body subconsciously anticipated it was going to be heavy. So it probably felt heavier than what it was, because your mind already made it feel like that. Your anxiety, your fear, so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's best that we find a way to like, you know, easier said than done. We all struggle with it, but like try to use our mind as a tool rather than a prison. Because it can easily become both, whatever you want it to be.
My grandpa used to tell me that.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, bro. This was one of my favorite ones, bro. I really appreciate you.
It's a pleasure to be here, my brother. Yo, gentlemen, thank you so much. It's an honor. It's an honor. And I want to say real quick, thank you, gentlemen, for having this platform where people can engage in this type of discourse. It's such a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? And you guys have a big responsibility, you know, and it's beautiful that you guys are taking time out of your day to allow people this space to speak their heart, speak their mind, and give back some gems to the community. And hopefully one day you guys can spit some back too, because I'm sure you both have plenty.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, bro.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you back on one of these days, bro, for sure.
Oh, my pleasure, my brother. Thank you.
This has been the K&A podcast. Oh, any last things you want to say?
Any last thing? Closing remarks?
Hold on.
This has been the K&A podcast, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for coming on, my guy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Kenny, close it out for us, bro.
See you later, bro. This camera's getting me mad, bro. See you later. Like, yo.